everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Public Opinion with your hosts, Pam and Benetta. Public Opinion is a current event discussion and debate show that gives participants the opportunity to defend their opinion in response to the public opinion question of the week. And hello there, Benetta, and welcome back.
Hi, I'm so glad to be back. Thank you.
Good. So did you go on vacation?
Yes, we did. We went for a working vacation. We went to a week in Orlando.
Oh, a working vacation. Okay.
Yes, we did work a little bit.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. How was traveling during the pandemic?
I was nervous. Traveling was very good, I would say. Not any long lines. And we had that clear where they scan your retina of your eye and you get moved up right to the front. You don't have to go through TSA in the same manner.
Oh, okay. I seen that, but I never really knew how that worked. Like, yeah. How did they get your eye? Was that something you had to do prior to the trip? Or
no, I did mine right there. They did a scan of your eye, and they do it a couple of times to make sure it takes. And then when I got to the clear desk, they scanned it again, and then I went on through. Oh, and they also do your fingerprints.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm excited about our show this week because, as promised, we have 3 more of the remaining congressional candidates to fill the seat of the 11th District congressional seat that was vacated by Marcia Fudge. So I'm very excited to talk to these 3 candidates to find out a little bit more about them because I don't know a lot about them. And I think this would be very helpful for anybody else who's like me, who may not be that familiar with these candidates. And it'll give them an opportunity to find out about the person inside of the politician.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's get started and let's find out who our participants are and our candidates for this week. First, we have Tariq K. Shabazz. Tariq is a career Navy officer with a passion for public service. Then we have John Barnes Jr. John Barnes is a former Ohio representative who served Ohio's 12th House District for over a decade. And finally, we have Shirley Smith. Shirley is a retired Ohio State Senator. As a state senator, she demonstrated her ability to negotiate and compromise. So let's welcome our candidates. All right, so welcome. Thank you all so very much for agreeing to be on the show this evening. And we can't wait to get to know you all better through the questions that we're going to ask. So before we get started, I do want to just let everybody know how things are going to flow for the evening. I'm going to give all 3 of you the opportunity to respond to the public opinion question of the week. So you'll be given 2 minutes to answer that question each. And then when you're finished, or if you do go over time, I will just, gently let you know that you're at the end of your time. And then after that, Benetta and I are going to ask you all questions, and you're going to be asked the same questions, and you will be given 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer the question. So do you all understand how everything is going to go? All right. So we're going to get started and see what the public opinion question is of the week. Why do you think you should be elected to fill the 11th District congressional seat recently vacated due to the confirmation of Marcia Fudge as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development? And I am going to let Shirley answer that question first.
How did I know that? Well, first of all, let me say thank you so much for allowing me to come on and be a part of your show. And the reason being, I love public service. It has never been what I consider a job. It's just something that I feel very passionate about. And it is that service that have afforded me the ability to be able to serve in deeply diverse districts. I am also, I used to serve in the Ohio House of Representatives and the Ohio Senate for almost 2 decades, where I was the assistant minority leader, also the Ohio Legislative Caucus president. It is the work that I've done in the criminal area of criminal justice that I was considered and made part of the Ohio Parole Board I was the only Democrat that served as a chairman in a Republican-controlled Senate. So I have all those characteristics that you need to be a good congressional person, servant. But the reason I'm running is to build upon our rich, rich talent, and also a highly recognized schools of academia and our medical institutions here within the 11th district. I'm also running because I want to make sure our natural resources are protected, our parks, our lakes, and our highly renowned or world-renowned centers of art. So with all that said, my main goal, my primary goal, is to make sure that the people of this district are first, not politics, but the people in this district are first through job creation and also public and private partnerships, and also making sure that we pay attention to the things that make us the stable district that we are.
Very good. Thank you so much. Next, we will hear from Tariq. Go ahead, Tariq.
All right. So my name is Tariq K. Shabazz. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm a husband. I'm a Navy veteran. I have the education and the military professional background and the shared life experience that so many people in this district are going through. As a young child, I remember very specifically having my next door neighbor murdered in my backyard. And those things absolutely affected the way that my whole mental well-being and the way that I viewed things, the way I viewed life. And I recognize and I have empathy and with so many individuals that's in this district that are truly dealing with these things. Oftentimes my colleagues will talk about how diverse this district is, but the reality situation is it's not diverse. Diversity requires inclusivity. And without being inclusive, you cannot say diversity. Because we know that this is one of the most wealthiest districts as well as one of the most impoverished districts. The wealth is not distributed amongst the people in a manner in which that nobody or any individual doesn't have to fight tooth and nail just to get out and overcome poverty. This is where I come into play. I'm fighting for things like reparations, Medicare for all, so no other individual has to worry about their health care being tied to their actual financial status. Any individual in this country should be able to just go to the doctor and not have to worry about that. This single payer coverage system of Medicare for all is the best policy direction that we can moving forward. Next thing, I want to address the prison pipeline. I'm a young Black man, so we can't move past that. These prison cells are filled with young Black men. Right now, America is 5% of the world's total population, yet it's 25% of the world's incarcerated. That is absolutely horrendous, and we can no longer say we are the home of the brave and the land of the free, because we are the most incarcerated in the entire world, the entire planet. I think everyone needs to understand that. So I, as your next congressman, one thing about me is very specific. You can see it. I'm authentic. I don't have to make these things up. When I talk to people, they know it's real. And this is what I'm saying to everyone here and who's listening. When I walk away from you, I'm the same person. So when I get in some of those rooms where we have individuals who may think that they're going to move me a certain way, that's not going to happen. Okay. I always will have your best interest.
Thank you so very much. And now, John Barnes, you can answer that question. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate having an opportunity to come on your show, and great admiration for what I've seen online. First time hearing about it, but I'm running because I am qualified, I'm experienced, and I have a proven track record of getting things done for the community. I've been involved in politics for a long time, and I know the process. I think that I'm uniquely qualified to go to Washington and step right up and keep walking around and work on behalf of the people of the 11th Congressional District. In this pandemic and post-pandemic planning, we have a comprehensive plan that we believe will contribute significantly to helping people move forward in the aftermath of this. Our world will never be the same. And so too is the opportunity in the city that now has the unfortunate distinction of being one of the most impoverished in America. And so I'm ready to go to work. I'm ready to get things done. I'm ready to be positive and give people a reason to believe that they have a stake in the future and a better tomorrow for our young people. Thank you.
And thank you so very much. All right. All right. Well, I don't know about you, Vanetta, but I'm excited to hear what they have to say in response
All
to
right,
the questions we have. Yeah.
for sure.
So Vanetta, you're going to start and ask them the questions that you have for them.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you this is a three-part question, and I'm going to start with Tyreek, then John, and Shirley. So listen closely. What made you want to get into politics? What has kept you into politics? And who were some of the people who inspired you to run for office? Tariq?
I had to write it down, so I made sure I had a comprehensive understanding of the questions involved. Okay, so number one, what made me want to get into politics? So if anybody didn't hear me say before, again, I lost a neighbor in my backyard. That's not the only thing that's ever happened to me in my life growing up. And I recognized these things very early on. I worked on a golf course as well when I was about in my early teens, in my adolescent age. And I noticed that every individual doesn't go through the same thing that we're going through heavily in our inner cities. In fact, where I worked at was only a few miles up the road from where I lived at. And I said, how in the world could these people not see how bad these conditions are? Or do they understand it, or do they even care? So that being said, these horrible conditions, the plight that we're facing, it heavily played a role in my aspirations to want to see actual change. And for me to want to see the change, I had to be the change. So that's one of those things that inspired me to move forward and keep fighting. So every time when I was in the community, we were working with people, I always tell people all the time, listen, there's another way, there's another route. We have to fight. We got to keep going, because again, this system would love to see most of us get tossed into these jails, just like how we see in Cuyahoga County, where we had last year, where we eclipsed over 2,000 people. This prison pipeline thing is real, and not just that, because we're not monolithic. Secondly, what's keeping me in it? I mean, I'm a newcomer essentially to the whole political scene. So most people who
Your minute and 30 seconds is up.
Oh, wow, that's a minute 30. All right, well,
Yeah,
sorry about that.
30 seconds.
I will fix it next time. Sorry.
That's okay. All right, Vanetta, who's next on that question?
John, you're next.
Thank you very much. I have been around politics all my life. I used to help my dad organize street clubs when I was a little kid. And so he ran for city council. And so watching him has drawn me into public service. But I've had also the opportunity to meet a lot of people who have contributed significantly to successes in this region. I met Carl Stokes when I was a kid, and my dad's very first election. Pulled up in a long black limousine. He got out and went in and met with my dad and said, "You can sit in the limousine till I come out." I worked in Congressman Stokes' very first campaign. And so I recognize collectively that I am a son from the community. I have been involved in every level. And so I think what has kept me in that is the idea of bringing about change, not just being in public service for the purpose of public service, but making a difference in people's lives, contributing as much as you possibly can to moving the ball down the field. And what inspired me to run was, I think, something that I learned along the way that contributed to my running, and that is that I needed a seat at the table to help talk about the issue, to work as an equal with policymakers, and to have a discussion about where we are, where we want to go, and how to get there. And so I think that we have to, in these trying times and the antiquated conditions of our community, requires a level of thinking, a level of careful reflection,
Okay,
to see how we can truly help people move to the next level. That's my focus.
Okay.
Well, what motivated me to get in politics is people like me, people who were impoverished, in poverty, underserved, rejected, voiceless, didn't have any support. Those people that didn't have a way to maneuver through all the big maze that was put before us. So I wanted to better people's lives. So I decided Like John, I wanted to get and work from within, not only get in the room, but sit at the table. And the only way you can do that is to work from within. So that was my reason for getting into politics, to just better the lives of people. But one of my inspirations was Barbara Jordan. She had this stern voice, and her voice was even just so captivating for me. And I thought that she was probably one of the strongest Black women that I'd ever seen. Of course, that time I was a bit younger, but anyway, she was captivating. And what keeps me in politics is those same people who are poor, voiceless, and feel they don't have a shot. And that's what keeps me here.
Wonderful. Those were all great answers. Now we're going to move on to our next question. And the next question is, what are your greatest strengths, and how do you think that will help you as a congressperson? And for this question, we're going to start with you, John.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What are your greatest strengths, and how do you think that will help you as a congressperson?
My greatest strength is my experience and my courage to stand up for what's right no matter what. And I think that that is extremely important these times as we're looking at many of the challenges that our community has, for someone to take the time and say, look, this is what we have to get done in our community. And these are the challenges that the people in this community have. I want to represent the rich tapestry of diversity in Northeast Ohio. There's about 107 different ethnic groups, but we are uniquely positioned to move beyond where we are to where we need to go, and that's to help everybody come up the ladder together. I don't have a problem with people, and I admire people who are successful, and we learn from those individuals, but I think that we all have to come up together, and we have to help people to come together. We want opportunity for all and responsibility from all.
Very good. Shirley.
Oh, okay. Well, my greatest strength is probably the love that I have for my family, friends, and mankind. I will fight till the end to make sure things are right for those people who are or in need. I always have, and I think I always will. I'm also very passionate, very compassionate. Those kinds of things that is what drive my spirit. So I think as long as I have those characteristics, I can almost adapt to anything. And that is another one of my strengths. So I think all those characteristics together make who I am and keep me strong. And then the fight.
Okay. Now, Tariq, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer that.
All right, really quickly, one of the biggest strengths that I have is my leadership and my insight. And I want to go elaborate a little bit further in terms of the insight. Due to the fact that I am the youngest individual in this race, I happen to see things from a different viewpoint, have different perceptions. I can see the constraints that are currently within our actual systems right now. And this is one of the things that we need to be looking forward to. For instance, cybersecurity, cybercrime, those things are on the rise and they will continue to be on the rise within the digital age. Who do you believe is the most well-equipped? It's me. It's Tariq K. Shabazz. Why? Because I'm going to continue to fight for it. We're going to fight to make sure we stop state actors, non-state actors, whatever the case may be, so on and so forth, that are attempting to affect our elections, affect our businesses, which our small business owners do not recover. They do not recover from actual cyber attacks. We have to look at that throughout the country. Again, in terms of my leadership, throughout the Navy, when I was in, one of the best things that I can say is that I brought the best qualities out of my people every time, through in and throughout. And I have people who just got off a deployment just now, who went on the longest deployment recorded in the entire nation, in the history of this nation. And one thing about it is that I got a phone call from that person. It was the greatest feeling of my life, just to get that phone call, just to get that message. It was amazing because I got to hear about what they went through, and it's a testament of my leadership because I've been out of the Navy since 2019, and just to get a phone call or a message from any of these individuals, that is what I mean about the leadership that I'm going to bring forward to this district. That's what it's time for a new journey. We got to move away from career politicians. It's time for a new person, Tariq K. Shabazz. Thank you.
All right. And you got that right in there, right at the end. Good job. Good job. Okay, Vanetta, you have the next question.
Okay, my question this time is a little easier. How would you describe your political ideologies? Would you say you're a progressive, a moderate, or a centrist? I'm going to start with Shirley.
Actually, I would say it depends on the situation. I think when we put ourselves in a situation where we can only think in one direction or one way, I think we harm ourselves more than anything else. The only thing that I know that I am one way all the time is that's when we're talking about finances, because I'm fiscally responsible and fiscally conservative. But I try to be flexible given the situation. So I can be liberal, I can be progressive, I can be moderate, depending on what that situation is. And I want to make sure that I can deal with each situation or issue singularly without saying, well, I can't deal with it that way because I'm a moderate or a progressive. So I am neither, I don't think. I'm flexible.
Thank you. Excellent. Tariq?
How you doing? So in terms of the whole political ideology and where where I fall on the entire spectrum, I would say that I definitely push forward and towards more progressive, I would say progressive policies, but I don't necessarily believe in the categorization that we have in politics where it puts you into a box. And because that box that you've now been put in, you can no longer walk out of, you can no longer traverse and reach across the aisle this way or that way. So what I want everybody to know about me, Tariq K. Shabazz, is this. I'm the person that's going to bring people together. I'm the person that's going to bring those policies. That's what I'm going to do. My ideology is bringing policy to the people. I don't want to just give hope. I want to give policy because far too often we've been getting nothing but hope in our district. And it's time to move past that. So my ideology is the people. That's my ideology.
Well, my ideology is getting it done. Just simplistic getting it done. Now, ideology has a value in giving people insight into what to think. I think that it is important to do so, but ideology is what has the country divided today. President Kennedy said that I'm not looking for the Republican answer. I'm not looking for the Democratic answer. I'm looking for the right answer. Likewise, Congressman Stokes used to say there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests. And for the audience that you have, we've got to focus on what are our permanent interests today. If you would ask 10 people about what should our focuses be, you would probably get 10 different answers. And that speaks to the leadership. It speaks to a lack of focus and looking at how we can build a better tomorrow around the idea of proposing things that is going to inspire people to follow you. And that is what's so very, very important about building a better tomorrow. Politics is one thing, but there's a political business and there's the politics. But then there is the part of what do I have to do to make this happen? How do I get it done? So I'm focused on getting things done.
All right. And he ended right at his, I'm telling you, you almost have timers on as well. Very good. All right. So I have the next question. And the next question is, what issues do you think are most important for the people you hope to represent? And what would be the best approach to addressing these issues? For this question, we're going to start with Tariq. Go ahead, Tariq.
All right. So that being said, this is what is considered a minority district, one of the most populous districts in terms of having as many Black people in it throughout this entire state. So one of the things I want people to really understand is that we can't keep going on because we talk about the pandemic all the time. Normalcy is not what we need to revert to, because normalcy was detrimental to our constituents already. So if I'm going to be an actual congressperson, I need to be aware of that, because that is now a public issue for me. So as your next congressperson, I'm going to work to establish equity. My office is going to be driven about establishing equities, which is why people heard me talking specifically about reparations. The federal government owes reparations, without a doubt, for descendants of slavery. Without a doubt, there is no discussion about it any further, because it's a debt. It is a national debt. It needs to be tacked onto it. And those things will greatly and vastly improve the lives of Black people throughout this country overall. Now, secondly, in terms of increasing the amount of grants and loans so people can purchase more homes and more businesses. And we're seeing more increases in funds that we see that are going to go towards HUD. So as your next congressperson, I'm going to play an integral role in ensuring that these funds and these resources are appropriated in a manner in which where it reaches our people, and we can actually vastly improve the racial wealth gap in this country. Thank you.
Very good. All right. And now, John, you can answer that.
I think we systematically have got to look at what, if anything, can be done that's going to prepare our community for post-pandemic. We have about $500 million that's coming into the city of Cleveland and just about every other community through the money that is coming in here to municipalities. And we have to pull together to look at that not only as a one-time shot, but use the dollars in a way that is going to build more opportunities for people and this comeback. Some people have what I call a beverage store mentality while people are running Walmart. And we need to move forward in a global way to talk about how we can utilize intellectual capacity of the people in our community who have the kind of outlook about the world that is going to help us build and expand to the next level. And I believe that beginning there with a process that will bring people together, to work together, to build together, and stand together in a way. You're not going to do that if you're out there and you're simply talking about demonizing this institution, that institution, and this institution. I think it's time for leadership that is going to bring together the community in a way that we're going to move forward and give our young people examples so that they will not think that all is set aside, but to give them examples as I watched as I was a young person in coming up and seeing the kind of leadership that made a difference in folks' lives that I always reflect on, standing on the shoulders of those who have come before me.
All right, very good. And Shirley, go ahead.
I think the most pressing issues today are probably health. One of the issues is health because of COVID-19, what COVID-19 has done to our economy. It has almost killed our economy and everything around it. Coupled with mental health and also dental health. For some reason, lawmakers and legislators, they don't seem to think that mental health and dental health are important. I think we lack seriously when it comes to taking care of people's dental hygiene. The other issue is job creation. I think we need to make sure that people are trained because this world, I heard Tariq say how it has changed. It has changed. The way we do things are going to be changed or is changing. And we need to make sure that people are trained for those kind of jobs, especially when it comes to green energy. The other issue I think is pressing is our national security. And I mean that by saying, what I mean by that is because we are getting ourselves into so much debt now, and we have to because we have to take care of our own people, I think that it threatens our national security because we will not be able to take care of our health issues, Social Security, or our workforce because we're depleting all the monies that we have. And if we don't look at that national threat that we have in terms of security, if I think about the the other countries and other people who we owe, if they call in our debt, we're going to be in a world of trouble. So I think that those issues are really troublesome for us, and we need to do something about it. The approach we take is we need to collaborate, and we need to make sure that all interested parties are at the table, and we need to learn how to walk and chew
All
gum
right.
at the same time.
Okay. That whole walk and chew gum at the same time, I'm telling you, that's one thing that I think by the end of all of this, everybody should be able to master that. I'm gonna tell you, that's been the key thing people have said. But thank you so much. And Vanetta, you have the next question.
Okay. What measures do you think are necessary to strengthen the Democrats and the democratic process? I'm going to start with you, John.
I think that we all observed how the election was run in the last presidential election in Northeast Ohio. I saw people for the first time in my history ask for $5 for a yard sign. They almost wanted you to pay for literature. I believe that we have got to expand our reach to people that we don't always agree with. I think that it's extremely important to build a coalition. Jesse Jackson described this best at the Democratic Convention when he spoke there. I think it was in 80, I can't remember exactly, but he described the Democratic Party as a quilt. Many pieces of fabric that would make up and clothe the interests of people in a way that they could build a better tomorrow. And I think likewise, I use it and say it in a slightly different way. I call it a rich tapestry of opportunity, a rich tapestry of people that come together. We have one of the most unique, geographically, one of the most unique areas in the country. We're within 10 hours of 60% of the U.S. population. We have the distinction of being called the best location in the nation, green city on a blue lake. But we have so many great things happening. The only problem is that it's not good enough. It's not good enough for the person who lives on 105 in Glenville or Huff or Fairfax or Lee Harvard or on the west side.
And 30 seconds is up. I'm so sorry because you were certainly on a roll and I would love to have heard the end of that. But I can only give you the 1 minute and 30 seconds, but thank you so much. And
next we'll have Shirley.
All right.
Okay, would you read the question again for me, please?
Sure, I will. It's a long one.
What measures do you think are necessary to strengthen democracy and the democratic process?
Oh, okay. Well, I think what we need is more trust and understanding between each other. I think that we lack a lot of that. And I think above all else, we need to hold each other accountable. We're not doing too much of that anymore. We need to start basing our decisions on what's right, not what's most popular. We need to base our decision on not who's old and who's young, but what's right for all of us. We need to base our decisions on what's going to help us all and not one group of people or one fraternity or one sorority. We need to make sure that everybody is in the equation. So until we do that, we're going to have the divisive society that we have, and that people are always going to feel like they're left out, and we aren't all going to be served because we're all trying to get the same thing. And there's enough to go around. It's just that everybody is looking out for their own good and not everybody else.
Excellent. Tariq?
All right. So can you repeat that question one more time? What
measures do you think are necessary to strengthen democracy and the democratic process?
Okay, thank you. So first, I would like to say this, that in this country, we're somewhere between voter apathy and voter suppression. One of the things that we can to remedy some of these situations, we see already on the federal level, we saw HR1 and HR4 is getting pushed through. Now, I wish that we could go a little bit further in terms of the democratic process to ensure that all individuals, regardless of the fact that if they've been into a prison cell or not, it should not it should not in any way, shape, or form hinder or attenuate your ability to suffrage. Every individual in this country should have the right to vote, period. Political silencing should never occur if we want to be a more democratic state. Since the inception of this nation, we have not been based upon the premise of every individual having the right to opt in and decide what they want to see of a better America for them. So again, I'm gonna note again, HR 1 and HR 4, those are very good steps, but we need to go a lot further because we're seeing all throughout this state, throughout the country, you're seeing some extremely suppressing legislation going through, and we can't accept that, and we can't have that going forward if we want to be a more vibrant nation that is based upon or predicated on everyone being inclusive, diversity. So those are the steps, HR 1, HR 4, but we need to go much further. We need to fight for our people. And again, I'm the youngest one in this race. So, you're going to see me out there. We're going to get out there. We're going to get our feet moving. We're going to get these young people voting. We're going to get them out there on election day, August 3rd. I'm telling you, be prepared when Tariq K. Shabazz wins. I'm telling you. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. The next question is, what is the best way to approach police reform given the recently passed George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and gun reform given the recent gun violence? And I'm going to start with Shirley for that answer.
The best approach we can take for that is to clean up the whole system. Criminal justice reform, also police reform. You can't just do one side of it. You have to clean up the whole system. You have to look at collateral sanctions. You have to look at bail reform. You have to look at sentencing. You have to look at parole boards. There's so much within that system that everything needs to be just thrown out and start all over again. When we talk about the criminal justice system, we're talking about a system that is treated differently almost in every state that you go in. We need some kind of uniformity across the country so that sentencing will be equal when it comes to nonviolent crimes across the country and also violent crimes across the country, because what's happening is there's a large amount of disproportionality when it comes to treating people that get involved in unlawful acts. And we also need to include a large database that stretches across this nation so that we can make sure that people are being treated fairly.
Very good. Tariq, go ahead.
All right. So first, I want to agree with my colleague when she brought up in terms of cash bail reform and things of that nature. Number one, people heard me from the jump. First thing we talked about ending this prison pipeline. 100%. We need to end privatized prison systems throughout this entire country. It's absolutely horrendous that an individual or an entity, a business organization is profiting while you're valuing the body of a person as money. So we need to completely move away from that system. The whole bail reform, we need to have it based upon an assessment whether or not an individual is going to become a flight risk or they're going to commit any other acts once they are released from pretrial detention. So that's another section of that portion. I'm looking at my notes really quickly. I just started writing because I want to make sure I address this. Gun reform. Now, in terms of gun reform, I think oftentimes when we talk about gun violence, we associate it with the mass shootings in this country, but we're not associating it with what's actually happening in our actual inner cities every day. So in terms of gun reform, it's not just going to be going in there and just closing loopholes. One of the best gun reforms we could actually ever do is actually vastly improving the conditions that our people are facing throughout these inner cities. And all my colleagues have addressed the fact of what's going on here. So we can all relate to that. If we want to actually see less of this gun violence in these areas, we need to vastly improve the conditions, because just taking the guns off the street isn't going to make people less impoverished. It's not going to let people less educated. We have one of the worst illiteracy rates in the entire country here. Lead deposits all throughout this nation. So listen, our best reform is actually vastly improving the conditions of the life and removing the plight of our constituents. And that's what my office will do. Thank you.
Thank you. And John, you can go ahead and answer that now.
There's not enough time in a minute and 30 seconds for me to talk about the criminal justice system, because we both have areas that are of serious crimes and the others are misdemeanors. But I'll say this, we have to stop pretending that something is happening that is not. we've got to face the harsh reality that we're not getting the job done. For instance, people talk about police. Well, you have to ask the question, who hires police officers? And if you're going to point the finger, we need to have a comprehensive look at how people are hired, what are the background checks, what is the human resource function for municipalities to look at, because at the end of the day, they don't hire themselves. So what we have seen in the past is that many individuals who are serving in positions come with various backgrounds that you normally would not allow in the system. Well, we have to ask as citizens, how does that happen? And we have to insist that we develop processes that are responsible and are going to represent the interests of people who are only seeking justice and opportunity. And I think that, I'm very concerned with some of these issues like stand your ground. I'm concerned with other issues with bail reform and just a whole host of other very important issues. But there are different levels of those issues from the standpoint of the effect on a population that is smaller in number, but equally as important. But the larger areas of the population for which I've done a lot of work in terms of looking at helping people to eliminate fees. I'll just stop.
All right, and that was the end of your minute and 30 seconds. That
Yes.
last question.
Given the partisan division in Congress, how do you define unity? And how would you define bipartisanship? I'm going to start with Tariq.
All right, that's a great question. For everybody out here who's listening, who's observing, number one, for you to have unity, we must have accountability. As a Navy veteran, as a Black man, when we saw on January 6th the terrorist acts that occurred on our actual U.S. Capitol, I was horrified. But the reality of the situation, and as much as I was horrified, I didn't believe or perceive that couldn't happen. That is where we are as a nation right now. So in terms of actually creating or establishing unity throughout this country to move forward and reaching across the aisle, we have to have accountability. We have legislators who actually heavily contributed to what occurred that day. We had a former president of the United States of America, a president of the United States of America, who literally egged on these people to go on and try to overthrow our actual democratic process, we just had questions referring to that. So for us to actually have unity, we have to have accountability. So thing about me in terms of my history is that I can reach across the aisle because I've sat in these rooms and listened to so many people. I've talked to these people. I understand how people are feeling. But where we have to go forward is we have to hold people accountable who are contributing to destroying our actual democratic process. And that's including these state legislators. And I said very recently that on the federal level, as we start increasing in terms of our voter legislation, voter bills and whatnot, we're going to see more state legislators say they were overreaching. We're going to see more lawsuits. That's what's going to continue to happen. As we are embarking on a journey where we're trying to create more unity and more progress, we will see more lawsuits throughout the states. So we need to have accountability. Thank you. That's our best unity.
Thank you. Next, we'll have John.
We have to build relationships with people. We have to stop talking at people and talk to them in order to build relationships. I have worked, for instance, I returned $5 million in additional funding for our food bank. How did I do it? I sat down with one of my colleagues on the other side, and I said, you have the same situation as I do in my district. Let's work together and make this happen. We had $5 million. We talk about other things instead of just allowing ourselves to be embroiled in a political system that is not responding to the people who honor us with the opportunity to serve. We've got to focus on thinking about how we can build a relationship with somebody that is going to make a difference in the lives of people. Now, there are going to be some things, quite frankly, that we're not going to agree on. But at least you can build a relationship to the extent that over a period of time, those issues that you can move down the field for people and bring about a sense of positive change is important. Machiavelli said the reason there would be no change is because the people who stand to lose from change have all the power, and the people who stand to gain from change have little of the power. Well, we do have the power when we come together and work together beyond any strength or power that is out there. And that is the art of the legislative process, for which I think that I have done very well.
Thank you. Now, Shirley, and last but never least.
All right. I think unity and bipartisanship is a thing of the past, and it's non-existent when you talk about Congress. I think it'll be a long time before we get together as a people and decide what's right for us and what's right for each other. It's become just a congressional turmoil, I call it. But I think if people understand that bipartisanship and unity is nothing more than understanding of give and take. And when you negotiate, they have to understand that nobody walks away happy. That's what it is. Everybody expects more than they should have. And they think that it seems that the power that they hold or they want to hold means more than the people themselves. So unity, bipartisanship, I think we can we can just say that doesn't exist anymore for a while, unfortunately, in Congress.
All right, thank you all so much.
Until I get there.
That is unfortunate. That is a sad, it seems like a sad reality. It really does. But especially every day that we look at the news, and it just seems like sometimes people want to be contrary just to be contrary. And I don't know how you can get anything done if you don't want to reach across aisles and try to come a compromise where everything just is going to have to be done by way of, just the majority and maybe, the vice president being the deciding vote. It has to be more, better than that. That's the only way you're going to really get things done. But we are at the end now, and I am going to give each one of you the opportunity just to give a closing statement, and you will only have 1 minute to do that. And we can start with Tariq.
All right. So everyone out there, first off, my name is Tariq Shabazz. I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives. That's the people's house, because why? I'm a man of the people, and I want to always fight for the people. And listen, all the things that I've went through in my entire life that I talk about, my shared life experience, I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm resilient. And why? Because nothing will stop me. Nothing will stop us. Our fight is on now. This is why our slogan is, this is our moment. This is why nothing will deter us from regardless of how much of a feat that we may have. Why? Because we're fighting for something very real right now. And I hope everyone who's listening, they feel this. We're going to fight for reparations. We're going to fight for Medicare for all. We're going to end that prison pipeline. We're going to continue on the pathway where we have progress, where we remove the current conditions that are leading to the democratic deficits that are holding back our country. I am Tariq Shabazz, and I will be your next congressman on August 3rd, 2021. Vote for Tariq Shabazz. Thank you so much, and you all be safe. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley, go ahead.
I just want to thank you so much, ladies, for inviting me on and giving me a chance to share my views and my perspectives to our public. That lets me know that you feel that winning is more than just about camaraderie or personalities or popularity, that it's about ideas and exchange. So I appreciate that. And just for those that are out there that will view your program, my website is shirleysmithforcongress.com, and you feel free to go and donate. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, John, go ahead.
First of all, thank you so much for having an opportunity to address the two of you as well as your audience. It has been an honor to serve this community for a number of years in different public service capacities. And I hope to take the experiences that we have to apply locally with a global level of thinking that I think is very, very important for these challenging times, to see how we can help our community move forward by bringing people together to work together and be unrelenting in what you're trying to do and how you're trying to go about building those relationships. You can never, ever give up, because the easiest thing in the world to do is to be in a room and have people to disagree, to not just be disagreeable, but build tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, Vanetta, what did you think about those three?
They were great. I tell you, no matter who wins, like I said before, we're in good hands.
I think so too. I really like their views. It's different viewpoints from each of the people.
Right.
I really liked Tariq as well. He's a young, fresh face. I think he has a lot of good ideas. I liked what John Barnes had to say and his perspective about things, and I really like Shirley a lot too. So agreed. I believe that the 11th district is going to be in good hands, no matter who wins this race.
Right. I believe that change is going to come.
Yes,
And these are the people to do it for us.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed this segment, please like and subscribe to the channel and join us next time for another episode of Public Opinion, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Goodbye.